My job away from YouTube is a photographer for a high-end estate agent, or if you're in America, real estate. I spend every day photographing insanely big houses and making presenter tour videos which are used as part of the marketing to sell the house, which is great. It's a lot of fun. But recently we wanted to make something else, something that not anyone else in our area is making, and landed on the idea of making a mini documentary following the whole team around during the course of a week so people can get a behind the scenes look as to what goes on. So I put together a very simple rig which I have here and just started shooting, and I want to talk you through this rig and how I went about actually creating this mini documentary, because I used such a simple setup. And that's what I want to get across in this video really, is that you don't have to overcomplicate things to make great things. If you are interested, I will link the documentary in the description down below so you can go and check it out, but make sure you watch this video first. My camera of choice was the Lumix S5iix. I have made a ton of videos about this and the S5 II over the last 18 months or so. I absolutely love these cameras, everything about them. So I'm not going to go into details in this video about the specs of the camera, because you can go and check out those other videos on my channel if you want to. I started by adding a small rig cage to the Lumix S5iix, which I just grabbed off Amazon. I think it cost about 30 or 40 quid. It was one of the cheapest ones I could find. I will link all of the things that I've used for this rig in the description down below if you're interested, by the way, as well. But I added the cage because it just gives you a ton of extra mounting options that you don't get on the camera body itself, such as being able to add this NATO rail top handle, which is absolutely brilliant because I can slide it on and off as I wish. You get even more cold shoe mounts, so you get the obviously got a hot shoe that is still accessible on top of the camera, then you get 2 cold shoe mounts on the cage as well, which means you can add other accessories such as this Rode VideoMic Pro Plus that I'm using. And then you also get some screw thread holes, which I've used to attach this small rig SSD holder onto the side, so I can attach my Samsung T7 SSD and record straight to the SSD, which then just helped speed up the workflow when it came to post-processing, because everything is already on the SSD. I've not got to transfer any footage onto this to start editing because it's already there. On the top handle, I've also attached this little tilting mount from Small Rig, which has the ARRI attachment, but it just means that I can add an external monitor to the rig if I wanted to. And lens-wise, I used 3 lenses to record the whole thing. I used the Lumix S35 1.8, 50 1.8 and the 100mm f2.8. That was it. They were the 3 lenses that I used to film this whole thing. When it came to audio, again, I wanted to keep it really simple, and by using the Rode VideoMic Pro Plus as a shotgun microphone and the DJI mic as a wireless microphone, it meant that I could mic someone up if I needed to with this and then just follow them around. Or if I wanted to capture more of everything going on in a scene, I had the Rode VideoMic Pro Plus to capture sort of ambient audio or audio that's happening directly in front of the camera. And that pretty much meant using these 2 microphones, I didn't have to worry about audio at all. All I had to do was make sure my audio levels were okay and people weren't too far from the Rode VideoMic Pro Plus, because the further you are away from a shotgun microphone like this, the thinner and the worse the audio starts to sound, basically. But the key to making something like this was keeping it as simple as possible, because I was the only one filming and recording this solo. So I wanted to capture everything on camera within this rig so that I didn't have to start worrying about recording audio externally on another device and starting to overcomplicate things when I'm just a one-man band. And by using both of these microphones, it meant that I was covered for every situation, and it kept things super simple, as well as being able to capture clear, crisp, professional audio. And that's it, basically. That was the entire rig that I used to record this mini documentary. I did use ND filters, so I had some step rings, an ND filter, and also mist filter that I used for everything. I absolutely love what mist filters do to footage. It just softens it and gives it a nice glow around the highlights. I use a mist filter 99% of the time on everything I shoot. So that's it. It wasn't any more complicated than that. For the actual filming of the project, I went entirely handheld, and the reason for that is it just meant that I was mobile enough to be able to capture whatever was going on and happening around me. And I was able to capture the spontaneity of the day-to-day journey that I was trying to document. And also, as well as that, I prefer the way handheld footage looks. It just looks and feels a lot more real and authentic when you are shooting handheld as opposed to footage shot on a gimbal. Now, a gimbal wouldn't have worked for shooting something like this because it's just another piece of gear in the way of you capturing what you want to create. But I do genuinely hate gimbals as well, and I will go as far as I possibly can to never use a gimbal. One of the benefits of using the S5iix as well is that the stabilization, the IBIS system built into these cameras is just insanely good, and I knew it was something that I didn't need to worry about because the camera is going to take care of a lot of those micro shakes that you get with handheld footage with the IBIS system. It is that good that I didn't even touch the electronic stabilization modes, which are ridiculously good and getting better all of the time. I just used the normal IBIS. I love the way it looks. One thing that I just want to mention very quickly when it comes to filming a project like this, as boring as it sounds, is to not forget about the planning stage. You need a plan in place, even if you are just capturing day-to-day life and you're trying to tell a story or a journey through that. You can have the perfect camera setup, the perfect rig to be able to go and capture unreal footage that looks amazing, but if you've not got a plan, that footage that looks incredible doesn't mean anything. Now, it can change as you go through the process of filming because something might come up whilst you are filming that takes you in a new direction, but if you have that plan or that idea and that rough outline of what you are trying to make, then you can start to plot your way along and know you are capturing the right things. Without that plan, if you were just to rock up and start shooting with people going about their daily jobs, you don't know what you're trying to capture and you don't know if you're capturing the right stuff to get what you need to be able to create that end product. Don't forget the planning. It's boring, but it's important. And it will mean that your projects and your end outcome, your mini documentary, your short film, whatever you're trying to make, will be 10 times better. When it came to camera settings, I kept these exactly the same for absolutely everything. I didn't want to record any slow motion, so I shot everything in 4K, 25 frames a second in 422 10-bit color, and that gave me everything I needed for when it came to post-processing and color grading. I also shot everything in Vlog. Now, Vlog, as I've mentioned in a lot of other videos about the S5iix, is my favorite log profile on any camera. I love the colors you get from Lumix cameras, the dynamic range that Vlog provides. It is such an easy log profile to work with. If you want to see a video on how I edit my log footage, let me know in the comments below and I'll get around to making a video about it. But if you are interested, I do have a look pack available on my website for download, so go and have a look if you want to. And there are also plenty of other things on there, such as Lightroom presets as well, that I use every single day to edit my work. My shutter speed was also at double my frame rate using the 180-degree rule. Now, on Lumix cameras, these have shutter angle, so I just set my shutter angle to 180. If you don't have shutter angle, just use a shutter speed of double your frame rate. You always want your shutter speed to be double your frame rate when you are shooting video, unless you are trying to do something very specific where you want a slower shutter speed or a faster shutter speed to create a specific look. Keep your shutter speed at double your frame rate. I shot the whole thing using just natural light, whether that was outside using the sun or inside using windows and just lights that were available in the room. And that's not ideal, I know. I would have liked to have had more control over the lighting in the room, but when you're working at a pace, sometimes you don't necessarily have that option. So if I was short on light, all I would do is boost my ISO to 4000. Now 4000 is the second base ISO on the Lumix S5 II and the S5iix, and it just means that you get a slightly cleaner image at 4000 using that higher ISO. Apart from that, if I was shooting outside, I would just shoot at 640 as always. So they were the two ISOs that I used, and I just flicked between them as I needed to, and then just messed around with my aperture and my ND filters to create the perfect exposure for what I was shooting. One last thing to think about when you are filming projects like this is to not forget about the B-roll, because it is so easy when you are shooting to get so caught up in the talking shots or the interview parts of your film that you forget to film the cutaways or the B-roll that you need to be able to hide cuts when you are editing. Always shoot as much B-roll as you possibly can for your documentaries or your short films, whatever you are making, because you would always much rather have more than you actually need and it doesn't get used in the final edit than having not enough and regretting not shooting enough and not having enough to cover up all of the cuts inside of your film. B-roll can help to aid the story that you are trying to tell in the video and can help keep your viewer visually engaged in the video as well. So you need that B-roll that you are shooting to be relevant to the story that you are trying to tell. You don't want to go out and film a load of B-roll that doesn't make sense just so you have a lot of B-roll to cover up all of your jump cuts. It needs to make sense and cover the jump cuts. Jump cuts that we see in videos like this on YouTube all of the time, there'll probably be tons of them in this video, are fine. But in short films, mini documentaries, they don't work in videos like that. And that's it. That's how I shot my mini documentary on the Lumix S5iix. As I mentioned, I tried to keep it as simple as I possibly could, and I think it worked. I will link it down below in the description so you can go and check it out if you want to. And I hope that these tips have helped out if you are looking at starting to film your own documentary, or maybe even just looking at improving your filmmaking skills. If you have any questions, drop them down in the comments section below and I will get around to answering them. And if you like what you see on the channel, don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and I shall see you very soon in the next one.